This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario. Hi everyone, it is Rebecca and Tara, and today we are going to be discussing our 2024 mid-year reading goals update. And I can't even believe it's already July.
I know. Not to be a cliche, but it's moving way too fast.
I know. Isn't it weird when you're a kid, everything drags to Christmas, and now as an adult, the time just flies by.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Well, I went on a bookish, adventure a couple of weeks ago, just to my local library, for an author event. They had Linwood Barclay, who is a Canadian, Canadian thriller writer, and Lucy Foley, who is from the UK and also writes thrillers. So the two of them were in conversation with I did not catch the name of the third person, but it's a little group conversation about writing and their new releases. And it was super fun. Linwood Barclay, I've read a couple of his books. He is very charming and hilarious. I really enjoyed seeing him. Lucy Foley, I also like her books. They're I'm going to say typical thrillers, but in a good way. I like the experience of reading her books. And at one point, though, my favorite part of their conversation, they discussed the role of an editor in their writing process.
Ooh, I love that discussion.
Yeah. And how much they depend upon the editor to get them to where their book eventually is publishable and well liked and well written and that they're happy with it. It was it was a really nice conversation.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to ask authors about our editors, which I don't know, they don't often really disclose that much because I just think, what is the role of the editor? Because they always thank their editors in their acknowledgments, but I don't know. I still don't understand fully kind of what they do or how they do it. It's magic.
I know. And I wish I had remembered a little more. Wrote down a couple little notes so I would remember. Let me quickly look in my little notebook to see if nope, all I wrote down was discussed author-editor relationship. Yeah. And this was now 2 weeks ago, June 19th, so I don't remember exactly what they said, but that they were both very dependent on that editor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now, do they write series books or do they do standalone thrillers?
I believe they're mostly standalone. Yeah.
Okay.
The ones I've read have been standalone.
Okay, because I do have a Linwood Barclay book I have, because you and I had gone to a bookstore one time and you recommended him to me. So I do have one of his books. I don't remember which one it is. And then Lucy Foley, I don't think I'm aware of, so I'll have to look into her a little bit. And anything else you want to talk about that you've been doing?
I guess.
Oh, I know. No. Talk about the Bird app.
Yes,
it's changed my life. Yeah.
I'm like, do I discuss this? I'm like, okay, I will. So I would say the most recent book that I finished reading was Amy Tan's The Backyard Bird Chronicles, which has become one of my new favorite books, bird books, actually books in general, but bird books. And while I was reading this amazing book with amazing illustrations, I flipping love this book. I think she may have probably mentioned it, so I shouldn't take credit for it. I found. She directed me towards this app, which is called the Merlin app, and it's in coordination with the Cornell Ornithology Lab. Oh my gosh, it is amazing and my newest addiction, and I flipping love it. It essentially helps you identify birds through their song. So you can hit record, and it records any bird songs in the general area and then identifies them, which I love because I did not realize how many birds were around me at any point. And when I realized that there are birds that I like, new birds for me, I've then been able to get out my binoculars because I'm really finding my birding nerd once again, and find those birds in the trees surrounding me. It's pretty amazing. Amazing.
And I have to say that I did the same thing when you told me about it. And I was outside one day and I thought, oh, I can hear a bird, right? I
Mhm.
hear a bird call. But I turned on the app and there were like 4 other bird sounds that I want, because it highlights when they start to sing, it actually highlights, the line highlights which bird is singing. So you can identify which bird is making the noise. And I realized there are all these other bird calls, but I wasn't hearing them because I thought I could only hear the one. So, oh my gosh, it is. And every time I go outside, I take my phone
Me
with me and I
too.
turn it on.
Me too. I've been in, well, if I take Jesse, when I take Jesse for a walk in the evenings, sometimes I will just turn it on and record as I'm walking just to see who's like around me. I've
Hmm.
been in a Walmart parking lot and like done it, just being like, what's that bird? And I also find it's helping me. I've wanted to for years to learn to differentiate birds by their song, and that's very difficult to do.
Hmm.
It's difficult to do. This is helping me
Yeah.
learn the different songs without. So almost sometimes I will not look at it and
Hmm.
test myself and be like, yes. Or I'm like, oh, dang, still not got it. But super fun. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I hope if anybody out there follows up on what Tara's talking about, let us know because it is really addictive. Just it just opens up the natural world in a way. I mean, that's the best of technology, right? That it can do something like that and open our world. That's so cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's so
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. What about you? What have you been up to?
well. I had a trip to Chicago for a week. In Chicago, I met up with some friends from Los Angeles and Sacramento, and I had, even though it was really, really, really hot. Oh my God, it was horrible hot, but had a fabulous time. I love Chicago. Outside of Toronto, it's my favorite city. I just love Chicago so much. And we saw, my friend Jeff and I saw The Kite Runner, the drama, the play, The Kite Runner, which is so funny because I always thought I read it, but now after I sat through the whole play, I thought, I'm not sure I did read it. I must be confusing it with another book. I don't know. But anyway, that was fabulous. And then we saw the musical Six, and I am a huge fan. So that's the Six Wives of Henry VIII, and it's like a rock opera, and it was so entertaining. The music's fabulous, and I mean, people listening are going to say, "Well, duh, it's been out for years." Well, I don't follow stuff like that, so I didn't know. But anyway, we had so much fun and found a great sushi place, really dirt cheap, which is crazy. And we went there twice, so it was fabulous. We loved it. And then
Awesome.
I just want to thank you. You have changed my life in a way. Yeah,
How? I'm like,
I
people
know.
see it, but I'm like, huh?
Okay, you have changed my life forever. I finally did the weed abatement using,
Oh,
it is a gallon of vinegar, a gallon of vinegar, a cup of salt, and a tablespoon of dishwashing liquid. And then I put it in my little sprayer. I sprayed this area that has been just crazy bad with weeds. And I mean, it killed it within like a few hours.
yeah.
Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I have so many animals in my yard. I refuse to use chemicals. And my weeds are, I'm like, not the worst house in the neighborhood, but I'm up there, right, with weeds. And so I just look at it like, it's still green. So it's beautiful because it's green, right?
Yeah.
But it's getting out of control. So I tried it. It worked. Now I'm going to have to take stock in, uh, like in the stock market. I'm going to have to buy shares in vinegar because
Mhm.
I do need a lot of vinegar to kill everything I have. But I love that I'm going to be able to do it in a more natural way and still allow my bunnies and everybody else who comes
Yeah.
to still partake of all the flowers, and they can eat whatever they want in my yard. I don't
Yeah.
care. But thank you so much because I can't believe how quickly it worked.
Yeah. I know. We've just used it. We use it in between the bricks for our pathway and stuff like this, just to get rid of those like little annoying weeds that can grow up.
That's exactly, I did that along with this one area that I'm working on. And It worked. I mean, I just can't get over how quickly it worked.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you. So
You're
you've changed
welcome.
my life.
You're
You've changed my
welcome.
life.
I love vinegar. I'm just going to put it out there. I have another. Now we're going to get on like a weird vinegar tangent. The other, because I use it to spray down like for anything, I use it as a cleaner around the
Mm-hmm.
house and for counters and stuff. But I will infuse it with like lemon and lime peels. So I have like a mason jar going just underneath my cupboard. And so whenever I use like
Oh.
any kind of citrus, before I throw out the remnants, I will like cut off the peel, throw it in a
Uh-huh.
jar, and then cover it with vinegar and just let
Mm-hmm.
it sit there for like a week or two or until I need like to replenish my spray bottle. And it works really well, obviously, as a cleaner and a disinfectant. But the lemon
Yeah.
oils from the peel infuse into the vinegar. So it also has this beautiful citrus smell to it, which helps cover up a little bit of the vinegar smell as you're washing. And which is also supposed to help repel insects in your kitchen and around your house.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm
you're
going to start
welcome.
doing that too.
Yep, vinegar for the win. Such a weird little tangent
Vinegar
we've
for the
taken,
win.
but
I love that. Okay. So today, I think this has been a very a fruitful discussion. So this is fabulous. Yeah. So anyway, today we are going to talk about our mid-year reading goals update. So I think I had more goals than you. So I think I'll go first
sure.
just to kind of
Yeah,
even it out. I'll just say quickly, one of them was to start reading my Grimm's fairy tales. I bought the complete Grimm's fairy tales. My report is I think I've read like 2 stories. So that's my report. That's it. And I will get back to I am reading other things, which
yeah,
I'll talk about in a minute, but so that one is completely shelved for now because I'm reading so many other things for my goal kind of.
yeah.
So that one's on hold.
You'll get back to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you?
Okay. So my first one, which is one that's it's every year, but it's to read the Giller long list from the previous year. So I'm reading the Giller long list from 2023, and I am actually doing pretty well. This year they helped me out in that so I think in 2022 there were like 15 books on the list, which was a lot, and this year it's one they've gone back to their 12. So that's
Oh, good.
that's a much more manageable number. And I have read 8. So I have 4 left to go. Yeah,
Wow.
so actually I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm kind of hoping to have them done. They usually in October, I think September, October is when they release
Mhm.
the next
Yeah.
long list. I would like to have these done by then, and I think if I put a little more focus into it, that can happen. But if not, I'll be pretty close to it anyways.
Now, overall, do you think this year's what you've read so far, the 8 that you've read, how does it stand up against like the previous year? I mean, just in general, like a general sense. Have these been better reads? Because you DNF'd a few last year.
Yeah, I was going to say I've had no DNFs so far this year.
Oh,
So of the 8 that I've read, I have read them all. There have been no DNFs, and I've been often pleasantly surprised by them. Like because there have been a couple that I don't think I would have read otherwise,
mhm.
and I've read them and I've enjoyed them.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I'm thinking of there was the most recent one I finished was Away from the Dead by David Bergen, which is a short novel about oh my gosh, my history's terrible. So early 1900s, the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the Red
Oh.
Army versus the White Army, I think Bolsheviks, all that whole era. I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. So this obviously I don't think this would have been a book that I would have been attracted to otherwise. But it was
Mhm.
on the list. I read it and actually really, really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Can you include the 8 titles for us so I can put down because
yeah,
sometimes you don't always post about everything you've read. So
yeah,
maybe can you give me a list? Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I
Because then
will.
we will
I'll
put
put
those
them in.
we'll put those in the show notes, the 8 you read
Yeah.
to date.
And I know
Yeah.
like one was Birnam Wood by Eleanor Catton, and
Mhm.
it was on the short list, and I feel like she win the Booker? I don't know, but there was a couple of big awards she was up for. I loved that
Yeah.
book. I thought that was it was like a environmental thriller almost they called
Mhm.
it, but it was really good. And then Study for Obedience, which was the winner by Sarah Bernstein, which is this short, weird little book, but I loved it as well. Like, I was really happy with the short list and with the winner. I was like,
Yeah.
this is,
Okay, so it's been a good year overall.
yeah,
Okay, excellent.
yeah.
Oh, I like that.
What about you?
I am reading Project 562, which is that coffee table book that it's like 392 pages, but it's huge, and it's about Native Americans and sort of Matika Wilbur interviewed over the course of 10 years, I think it was, the 562 recognized tribes in the United States. She talked to people. And so each person gets maybe like 1 to 2 pages, and then a beautiful photograph accompanies it. And it has opened my eyes so much because I'd read so many books from Indigenous authors in Canada, and reading about all of these tribes being represented has just been an eye-opening for me, and I love it. Absolutely love this book. She announced today that she will be writing a children's book that will be coming out in 2026, and I cannot wait because I think it will be just as glorious as this book is.
Mhm.
And I know it's not a book everybody will pick up because it is big, but it's so beautiful. And even if you just check it out from your library, which I did originally, and I just thought, oh no, I have to own my copy because there's no way I'm going to read this in 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is. So anyway, it's been a fabulous journey just geographically and just learning about people I don't know that have been sort of well, I mean, this is kind of, but marginalized. Like, I don't even, if you had said to me how many tribes in the United States, I wouldn't have come anywhere close to
Yeah.
562. I just wouldn't have. So anyway, love this book. Highly recommend. At least check it out from your library if you can. I don't know that Canadian libraries would have it, but certainly American libraries should. That's one of my goals. And I should say, I am scheduled. I've been kind of keeping track of it. I'm scheduled to finish it probably in September, early
Oh, okay.
September.
So
So
you're
it's
close
just,
to checking that one off. Nice.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's really, and like I said, the images are so beautiful, the stories, the interviews, what everybody is talking about in terms of, you know, just their successes, like the things they're doing, that just why their tribes are thriving, why they are thriving. And that's just, it's all just such a positive, upbeat thing. And she just did a brilliant job.
Nice. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to go with this one. So the second goal that I set for the year was to read the backlist of Helen Humphreys, so an author from Ontario. I have read 4 books, so I was hoping for one a month, but I've been waylaid / sabotaged by library holds for a couple of months. So I'm still happy though. So 4 out of, so this is only beginning of July. So maybe it should have been technically 6. So I've now read 4 out of the 6. No, sorry, there's way more than that. I'm just getting confused about my numbers. Ignore that.
Okay.
4 out of the potentially 6, I guess, I was going. So, but I'm happy with that. I would like to get one in July because it's been a couple of months since I've read one, but
There were only a total of 6 that you were going to read? That
no,
was your goal?
no, I
Oh, okay.
was very confusing right then, Rebecca. That's not you.
Oh,
So, with it being June being the 6th month, like technically,
oh,
if I'd read one a month, I should have read
got it.
6 by now, but I've only read 4. But she has 19 books.
Oh, that's what I thought. She
Yeah,
had a big,
yeah, and
yeah.
that
Okay.
includes fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. A few poetry in there as well. So I
Hmm.
won't get this one done this year. It will carry on, I'm certain, into next year, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I knew that starting it. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get all 19 read in one year. So,
And she's a top author for you now, right?
oh yeah, yeah. I
Going through
love
this
everything.
process.
Everything I've read, I love. Yeah. So I'm enjoying this. Like, I'm not going to not see it through. Like, I am going
Yeah.
to read her entire backlist. I love a checklist and little. Can I show you? I'll show Rebecca, but it's obviously as an audio podcast, no one else. So I will. You won't be able to see it, the viewers. So I keep a paper journal as well. So I've listed all of
Oh.
her books. I have a list made,
Mhm.
and then I put like a little circle
Mhm.
beside each book, and then I color it in when I read. I love doing that shit, coloring in
Yeah.
stuff when I've
I
like
love it.
met a goal. So ridiculous. But
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I tend to do that in my spreadsheets.
Mm,
You do it in paper, I do it on spreadsheets. So
yeah.
that's so yeah, because whenever I read a book that's on my list, then I move it. I physically move it to another.
Yes.
I mean, in the same file, but then I move it over to my completed list. So yeah, I do
Very
that.
satisfying.
It really is. We're such book nerds, but yeah, it is. I love that. I love that you have discovered a wonderful new author. And
Yeah.
I was saying to you earlier, I hope you reach out and see if she's willing to talk with you, because I think that would be an amazing.
Yeah. I have to get up the nerve because I'm also very intimidated when someone becomes like a favorite author. I then get
Yeah,
extremely intimidated. So
yeah,
let's hope that I can get over that and
yeah.
do it.
And if you can't, I mean, that's okay too. But I think it'd be kind of cool. I was thinking the other day, this is so funny, about which authors have intimidated me the most. Like when I talked to
Hmm.
them, I was sweating bullets practically, figuratively, of course, but I was thinking how intimidated and scared I was and just holding it together. And the two that came to mind immediately were Andrew Cotter, who's that sports writer in Scotland who wrote the books about Mabel and Olive, his two dogs. And I actually kind of tried to talk him out of doing the interview with me, which was hilarious because he kept saying, he said, I have to change the date. I said, oh, that's okay. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. And he was like, no, really, it's fine. Let's
Yeah.
just reschedule. And I'm like, okay. So that one, I just was shaking the whole time, I think. And then the other one was Tanya Talaga. She is amazing. She's so smart. The stuff she writes just grabs you. Oh my gosh. I love her so much, but I was sweating the whole time I was talking to her
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah. I get that. She's intimidating and that she is so good.
Yeah, exactly. So, and here I wasn't that long into the podcast. And when I reached out to her, I didn't expect her to say yes. Sometimes that's the case, right? And when she said yes immediately, I was like, oh, and to this day, she is still our most downloaded
Yeah.
podcast ever.
Am I making stuff up? I think she has a new book coming out in the
She
near future.
does.
Yeah.
I don't know when the date is,
Yeah.
but we'll look it up and then we'll put it in the show
Yeah.
notes because I can't remember when that comes out. But yeah, you're right. She did announce that. So my next goal, which I completely forgot about until I went back to do the homework for this to decide, I totally forgot this, but I actually have met it 3 times so far, but it's a 2024 inclusive picture book read along challenge, and it is Reading with Red and the Magpie Instagram account. She put up this fantastic challenge, and it has a hashtag, etc. Anyway, it's basically to find just inclusive picture books. And turns out I've read 5 books, I think, already that would qualify for her little, it's not a bingo list, but she does have all these prompts and everything. So I am going to work on that because this year my reading got really thrown off early on because you and I had a lot of titles that we had gotten as review titles. And I'm a slow reader. So I was reading all these books and not doing any of what I would call, quote, my reading. However, I will say everything I read, I absolutely loved. All the books that we received from publishers or publicists, I loved them, but it threw my year off in terms of my goals. So now that I remembered I have this picture book goal, I'm going to go back and start picking those up. And those are things that if I really, really love them, I'll put them on my Instagram. But I probably won't talk about them necessarily on the podcast. So, because I don't know how many people we have that really necessarily are that into picture books, but I am going to complete that challenge for this year.
Nice. I had actually forgotten about that challenge for you as well. So thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I like seeing them on Instagram. When you post your picture books that you've read on Instagram, I
Yeah.
enjoy seeing them.
And I do have, I read one recently that I absolutely loved. I reached out to the author. He said yes. So that will be hopefully, I'm not sure exactly when we'll get that scheduled, but I'm really excited, and I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to let it be a surprise, but I'm looking forward to talking to him about his new book.
My last one for the year, which was, I think it's in its second year, is to read the Agatha Christie backlist. So this is going to take me my lifetime, let's be honest, because I'm still in the Hercule Poirot books. So I've read 3 so far this year, and I love them. I think she's brilliant. I'm enjoying the reading process, and that I like seeing where what we now consider mystery tropes, where a lot of them came from her. So I think that is fascinating. I'm also enjoying the reading experience in that, sometimes she didn't reading Agatha Christie with a 2024 lens, when sometimes maybe the language she used, the stereotypes that she used of some of her characters are, you know, she was at times racist and misogynist. And it's
Yeah.
difficult at times, but I'm like, I still want to read her books, but I'm reading them with that lens attached to it. It makes you think about your reading in different ways. So yeah, so that one is going along well, slowly but well.
Yeah. I think that's excellent. So my last goal is to read 12 classic women's authors. And it's hilarious because it dawned on me, like, I think in late March, that I hadn't even started my goal. And I thought, holy crap. Because again, I was reading all these other books again that I loved, but I was getting behind. So I'm happy to announce that I have read 5. Ta-da!
Wow.
So I'm kind of on track. So
Yeah.
I knocked out a bunch of them, but I love them. So I just want to just mention really quickly, and I'll put them in the show notes. But it started with, I read, what did I start with? Holy baloney. Oh, My Ántonia. So I started with My Ántonia by Willa Cather. And then, so that was one. And then I read The Street by Ann Petry, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. I just read The Member of the Wedding by Carson McCullers, which I will talk about more in August. And then I just last night finished Picnic at Hanging Rock. And I have to tell you, if I could give that one 10 stars, I would give that one 10 stars. I love that book so much. I cannot tell you. And I just feel hamstrung that I can't give it more than 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's how much I loved it. And I think it could very well be on my best of list in 2024. That's how
Wow.
much I love that book.
Wow.
It's really, oh my God, it was so great. Anyway, so that is my 5 out of 12.
Do you know what your next book is going to be then for this goal?
There's a book called The Optimist Daughter by Eudora Welty. She was a Southern, I think, Mississippi writer and famous, classic American author. And so I thought, I'd kind of forgotten about her, and I thought, oh my God, I always wanted to read her. I'm not that big of a fan of Southern writers overall, but I thought I might like to read that. And then there was another one, another Australian book, a movie that I had seen that made a huge impact on me when I was, I don't know, like barely 20 years old, My Brilliant Career by Miles Franklin. And Miles Franklin is a woman who had a long name, but changed it to Miles Franklin. But anyway, I was thinking, since I loved Picnic at Hanging Rock so much, I thought I might read that one. So those are the next kind of 2 that I'm looking at.
Excellent. Excellent.
And then, what we forgot to talk about, because that kind of wraps up my goals.
Mine
and
too.
yours as well.
Yep.
But what are you currently reading? And we totally forgot to say what we're currently reading.
Let's start with my current nonfiction. It's a memoir, and I just started it this morning. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. So I'm
Yeah.
only 50 pages in. It's going to be a quick read. It's really good. Nice short chapters, and you just kind of like skim through them. She's a very good writer. So far, I'm like very concise. Like she throws out these little snippets of her childhood, and they're short, but you get the picture very quickly of what she's building in her family life and her relationship with her mom. And I already want to give like little Jeanette McCurdy a huge flipping hug, but it is living up to all the rave reviews I've heard of this one.
I think I'm going to see if I can get the audio version, because that'd be a great book for me to listen to when I'm walking then.
Yes. And I bet she does the audio, and I feel like it would
Mm-hmm.
be a really good audiobook. So my fiction, which I also just started a few days ago, it's a big honker of a book,
Yeah.
and it is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. So it's his new book. Uh, I'm showing Rebecca. It's a big one. It's about almost 600 pages. However, it's going to be, once I know this weekend when I can really get some time to spend with it, I'm going to fly through it because it's got like popcorn chapters, like really short
Oh.
chapters. Each chapter so far, they're like 1 to 4 pages. So you
Oh,
finish
yeah.
one chapter and you're just like, you want to flip through and like, you're like, I can read another one because the story grabs you right away. So very quickly,
Yeah.
1975 Missouri, there is a serial killer. Young girls are disappearing. So there is a
Ooh.
serial killer on the loose, and there's a young boy named Patch. I think he's about 12 years old. And when he's in the woods one day, he comes across one of his classmates in the middle of her abduction. So he interrupts the abduction. She gets free because he literally attacks. This is in the first chapter. I'm not spoil or first few chapters, so I'm not spoiling anything. He attacks her attacker, so she goes free, but he disappears. And
Oh.
that is all I will say. So but he also Patch, his good friend, his best friend at the time is a young girl named Saint. And it is her journey of finding him and trying to bring him home and stop a serial killer. And it is his writing, it's very strange. The first couple chapters, I find his style, the sentences, also very succinct in that sometimes you're like, I don't know what he's trying to say because sometimes words will be missing. And that sounds like you're like, what the hell am I going to read this? But it only takes like a chapter or two to get into his style of writing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to explain, but it's fascinating, his style of writing and how it's beautiful.
Do you think that would work as an audiobook? Because I think my mom might enjoy it, but would it work as an audiobook, or do you think the chapters are too short and choppy?
I don't know. I think it could work as an audiobook because they
Mm-hmm.
still flow. Like they're short, but they kind of flow into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, like, the first section was told more from one character's point of view. I've
Mm-hmm.
now moved on to a second section where you're getting maybe a movement back in time. So that's the only thing to make sure that that is clear in an audiobook. You know what I mean? Like I would kind of look at reviews maybe for the audiobook then too, because
Okay.
sometimes how I find, not that I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but when I've listened to other reviews of audiobooks, that sometimes these books that travel, that where they make jumps in time or character
Mm-hmm.
perspectives, sometimes can be lost in an audiobook.
Yeah, I agree. There was one I listened to that by the end of it, I was so confused.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what I read because it was just all too confusing.
So that I don't know, but as the hard version, I am loving it. I'm really enjoying it. What about you? What are you reading?
I am currently reading a book that you gave me as
Oh,
a birthday gift from last year. It is February by Lisa Moore.
yes.
And I'm only about 30 pages in. I just started it. And I'm looking forward to reading it. I do like her writing, like right off the bat. And then, yeah, so I'm reading that one. And I'm still working on that one I'm reading about the American Hospital, whatever that
Oh,
one
yes.
was.
Yeah.
I'll, I won't even put it in the show notes. I haven't picked it back up again. I've already talked about it. But anyway, so that's kind of what I'm working on. And I think I really want to get to, we talked about this before and I still can never remember, but Katerina Vermette's third book, The Circle.
Me
I
too.
want to get to that. So I think I'm just going to, as soon as I finish February, I think I might grab that one
Yeah.
next. Because I don't want to hold off any longer because I read the other one not that long ago, and so I want to be able to still have it kind of fresh in my
Yes.
mind.
Plus,
What
she
I'm
has
reading.
another new one coming out in the fall, I
She
think.
does?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's what,
Okay.
yeah.
I need all authors to take like a year off. Give me like, let me catch up.
Maybe if we both set a personal goal to have that one, it's The Circle, right? Was it The Circle, I think? Or
Yeah.
read by September.
Okay.
Is that putting too much on us, I wonder?
Nope. Not for me, but you have, I mean,
I put too many library holds. I'm getting sabotaged by my library holds lately, but not that I'm complaining because they're all like, it's also really exciting. I feel like I've gone to the bookstore and come home with like new books and I paid nothing for them. So I get that little dopamine hit from the library holds.
Yeah.
So I can't stop.
And I should just mention too, I'm not doing very well. My general goal, which I have every year now, is just to read all the books I bought from the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
And that goal is like really bad this
Yeah.
year. So February is one of the books on that list, but I'm not doing very well. So, but now that I'm caught up on my classic authors, I think I can start to hit up on my list of those books.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, so many books, so little time.
Yeah, I think that's it too.
Oh, yeah, let me just say too, just really quickly. So we have a number of podcasts that will be dropping this month for July that I interviewed last month, but I'm going to get them edited and spread them out for July, so you all have something to listen to. But I'm taking kind of a break, or both of us are kind of taking a break, and we will be back with our live stuff in August. Well, our live, right? And our podcast.
Yes.
So otherwise it's going to be all other authors and a reader repartee this month.
Yeah.
And we hope that you enjoy all of them. They're all fabulous. And we hope you enjoy them.
Yeah. Because when we come back in August and do like a YouTube live, we're going to have a boatload of books, people. A boatload of books to go through. So it's going to be super fun. I can't wait to share. I actually have a big stack here already. So I'm like really looking forward to sharing.
That one might be 3 hours long. I promise to be brief.
Me too.
I'll do my best.
Me too. Happy reading and happy summer, everyone. Happy summer reading.
Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style, and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.